welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are, and I'm Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the Colt Seavers to my J. Esk Fryer, stuntman for hire.
You are not like Tom Ryder at all. Don't do that to yourself. That guy,
No.
What a piece of shit. And slick back hair and everything.
That's true. And we'll talk a little bit about who maybe he was molded after as we get into this exit survey here, because I have some suggestions here.
You do?
I think so. I don't know how founded there. There's just my own opinions.
I want to hear them because that is something that I was thinking about in the movie. Like, who is this guy based off of? There was one voice that he did in the course of it that made me think of an individual, but I don't know if that was supposed to be that guy. We'll get there later, though.
Okay, all right. Now I was thinking about toying around with Cliff Booth. You know, I was rewatching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this week. Not really knowing that this lined up with like the stuntman thing, but another great recent stuntman that we got in a movie.
Yes. Yeah. See,
well, an actor playing a stuntman in a movie.
It's. I mean, I you know what, we talk about this with various things that we like inside baseball stuff, and I think anytime, especially if you're doing a podcast, like you appreciate the nitty gritty kind of stuff of things that you're interested in.
Of course.
And with film, like I'm definitely there with that kind of stuff, and the stuntman, conversation is very interesting to me.
It is. I hope we get a little bit more love for the stuntman here, if nothing else, from this movie. You know, with all the John Wick success, I think there was some. Not petition, but some people pushing for stuntmen to get an Oscar. So I think that conversation's kind of been brought up.
Well, they brought it up in the Fall Guy, and I was like,
Yep.
It's kind of ridiculous that you don't give that to somebody. I mean, it's a pretty significant thing in the course of making a movie.
You would think so. I agree with you. But if you haven't already guessed, people at home, this week we are conducting an exit survey on The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. Blunt, not Plunt. Make sure I enunciate the B there. But that just opened in theaters this weekend here. So actually, apparently, to a little bit of a lackluster affair. We'll get into that, though. I'm a little surprised.
You mean monetarily?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. But yes, yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this. Yeah, I'm like hung up on what we were just talking about with the Oscar like awards. Like, it just like, again, not appreciating action in a movie, and I feel like that happens all the time where we've seen other movies over the years where it's like they're primarily like action first, and then they just never get respected. They're not film. It's not done by a director. It's just a bunch of
animators do it. You know, if there's a best animated movie nowadays, like, come on, like, yeah.
And I'm very like pro animation. Like I think that gets disrespected a lot of times, but I am very much with you in that. Like, if you're not going to give it to, like, how do you not do that for some people at all? It's insane.
I hear it, especially with the emphasis on superhero movies and action movies and stuff like those.
Evolve.
Are the superheroes. That's kind of the message that I took away from this movie. But we'll talk about that. That stuntmen could be superheroes, even if it's not really believable what they're doing in this movie all the time.
Yes.
But we'll get into that and a little bit more. But my intro question for you, Nick, is did you watch the Tom Brady roast on Netflix Live last night? And if so, what'd you think?
Yes, I've seen most of it, or just over half of it. I've watched up to the completion of Belichick's appearance. Yeah, I didn't realize how long it was, but I was I think part of when it was airing, I was actually seeing The Fall Guy, so I didn't build my schedule around Tom Brady. I don't do that anymore. But I did really enjoy this. I mean, it was. I think, we've talked about Nikki Glaser before and how, like, I find her very funny, but I do, as I saw her more and more, it's like, well, you kind of got like. You stick to the sex jokes, and sometimes it's funny, but it just makes you much more hit or miss. I feel like just when you're doing that one thing,
it could be a crutch I find for some women comedians. The Chelsea Handler, Amy Schumer type. I think she kind of falls into that category with her general comedy.
And I haven't watched them as much, so I can't speak to it. But with her, it's like very prominent. It's just that's her thing. She came out and fucking crushed it. I have not seen the whole thing, but I was blown away at how good of a job that she did, because I've always thought, like, it's why I find her so funny. I realized that this time around, her delivery is so good.
Yes,
like, she makes a joke and then she says a little side thing afterwards to make it even funnier. That's what I love about her.
Yeah, she came away as my number one on the power rankings for the top roasters of the evening. I loved it. I watched the whole thing last night. And like you said, like if you were to compare her set to like a boxing match, you know, she had the knockout blows that when you talk about like the jujitsu fighter kicking ass but getting her ass kicked, like that whole thing, that was really funny. And that's like a knockout blow, right? Or the Gronk like FTX thing, like me know that's not real money, you know.
Everybody was making fun of Gronk, right? Everybody, because it's an easy thing to do. Same thing with Kevin Hart and the short jokes, right? It's easy, safe thing to do and calling him dumb. But we'll talk about Gronk more. But she did an outstanding job. Like she had the best joke about Gronk being a dumbass.
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's also like you were saying about the Kevin Hart short jokes. She had these like little jabs, these little body blows that were like, you know, Kevin Hart never turns down a movie, or as I like to call them, short films. And it's like something very like it's a little jab, you know, and it's like that's good, that's smart. I like that.
Yeah, that was I've seen quite a bit of her roasts. I don't know how many, but I've definitely
She's
seen a
great
few
at roasting,
highlights,
yeah.
and she does a really good job with roasting. But this was next level, and I mean, it was to the point where you know Kevin Hart was praising her afterwards. And I know, like you comment on people and how they do with roasting afterwards. It's like it's a very normal thing. But I don't. You've probably seen more than I have. I've never seen someone get praised like that.
No, and he was kind of doing that throughout. So there was the number two on my power rankings was Tony Hinchcliffe, who comes a little bit later. He runs a comedy YouTube show called Kill Tony, where he gives aspiring comedians 1 minute, and then like he has a panel of celebrity comedians or guests come up and they like critique the 1 minute set. And they usually, you know, do kind of like a roasting thing or give some, you know, constructive criticisms. Excuse me. But so I really like that show. So I think Tony's really funny. They were 1-2, but he got the other kind of compliment at the end, and did Bill Belichick actually.
So I haven't seen the reaction from Bill Belichick yet. I just finished it, paused it, and got ready to go with you. But I will say about Bill, I was so fired up when he started talking about Danny Amendola. And look, I'm not someone who like was like protect Bill and all this stuff. Like you and I were at the games covering the team, wrote critical pieces and all this stuff. Like I have no reason to want to defend the guy other than as a kid, you know, being a fan. But it's not how I roll. When he started going at Amendola, he did it perfectly. And I was very much like what he did in the Dynasty documentary. It's like, dude, like you weren't good enough to say that kind of shit. And it's just, I was so annoyed when we saw that like clip. What was it? We played, Bill was our boss, but we played for Tom. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Right,
here,
exactly. And there's a lot of things like where people were critical of Bill and whatever documentary, right? Tom versus Time or the Dynasty or whatever's been talked about. But there's always like, yeah, but he also was the best coach I've had, or pushed us, or was fair, or whatever. There didn't seem to be that but with Amendola, you know, like everything felt like a little bit more personal with him.
It's just, and again, I understand that I mean, that guy dealt with injuries and stuff, and obviously he had some big plays. It's not like he didn't earn his ring. Was it rings, right? He's got multiple rings, right?
Yeah.
Trying to keep track with all that. We just know that Randy Moss
at least two. Yeah.
So
he made that very clear. Yeah,
that was great too. It's like I would have cheated with you guys, like, but
I thought he was one of the worst ones out there.
Outside of that one joke, he didn't do a great job.
Yeah, well, I also had stepped away. I went to the bathroom when he first got on, so I wasn't really in on the whole premise of it. So I was like kind of picking up. I was like, all right, what's he talking about here? But the real worst one was the two Bears, Tom Segura and Burt Kreischer, and they're last on my power rankings because they're professionals, and what they did was just absolute dog shit. It was awkward. It was like cringy. I don't know.
Yeah, that was terrible. So I didn't watch it live. We fast forwarded through their bit at some point. I asked my wife, I was like, "Is this okay? Do you mind if I fast forward through this?" And she said, "No, I don't care at all." Like it was so bad. The funny was it Bert is the guy with the beard? right?
Yeah, he's on the left. I think they both have beards.
The
But
one with
yeah,
hair.
yeah,
How
yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
yeah. There we go. Yeah,
The funniest thing he did was get roasted by that Sam chick
yeah,
afterward.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She
That was
spent
it.
like half her set just shitting on him.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I don't give a fuck about this guy enough but like she's like digging into him, so it was pretty good. Her Bledsoe stuff was definitely my favorite part of her
Well,
bit.
I
But
love Bledsoe. I thought Bledsoe was a big winner out of all of this
yep,
too. I think it was good that he came out number one. I don't know if it was nerves or if he had a little bit too much of his double back Cabernet that he was sipping on, but he seemed to get hiccups throughout. It was kind of like, having a difficult time. I don't know. I've heard some people say online that maybe that's like neurological CTE type stuff that that people were saying. I don't know how true that is, but I thought he came out great. I loved everything he said, making fun of Tom Brady with the yellow Jeep, and I was like, doing the
yeah,
double back in the mirror, very good stuff.
the double back
Surprised.
was great.
Yeah, all the stuff about it, him and Giselle. Little surprised that they went there, but obviously I thought everything's up fair game, right? When you're that big of a public figure, so it would have been weird not to mention it.
There were, yeah, I mean, it's obviously clearly fair game. I mean, that going into this, I was surprised because it very much seemed like at the end of Brady's run, in New England, that he was like it was you tight-lipped. Things changed a lot after he just had evolved into this bigger. It was beyond being the best
Hmm.
football, best quarterback,
Unrelatable,
and
right?
yeah, it's right, unrelatable, but also just like he had ascended to the stardom level that transcended football, and I get
Hmm.
that he very much earned that, but these jokes that were once they knew he was getting roasted, I was like, is he sure? Are you sure you want to do this,
I
dude? Like,
know. Yeah.
I don't know that you can handle this.
Right. Yeah. I
So
wonder. I
it's
wonder how nervous he was going into it. But I thought Bledsoe was great. You'll get to Julian Edelman. I thought they were the two best of like the non-comedians to go.
okay.
Belichick was also on there. I also thought. I don't know if you got to this part. Kim Kardashian. I thought she was pretty
Huh,
good.
that was funny.
Uh,
Yeah,
she was quick. I don't really know why she was there, other than like the short-lived rumor that they were dating.
probably
It
that's
didn't
it.
really make too much of a connection. But I
She
also don't.
handled that funnily though. That was my favorite part about what she did.
Yeah, and she got like royally booed, and I don't really know
That's
why.
one. It's
Is it?
actually, I don't know why. That's a
I
fair
mean, I
point.
get it. Like she's like kind of, but everyone loves her too. But I don't
That's
know.
how it is, though, right? If
Yeah,
everybody loves you, then probably the other half of people hate you.
yeah,
That's
but
just how
it's I don't know. It seemed a little out of place. Like I didn't fully get it. Like
it was.
she hasn't really been in the news or anything. She's like, for as famous as she is, she's been, in her family for that matter, been like kind of quiet.
Yeah, no, I feel like I mean, I honestly, I don't pay enough attention to that kind of stuff to know. So
Yeah.
I take your word for it. But what was I going to say? Going back to Bill, because you reminded me another joke that he made that I absolutely love too was when he talked about how they butted heads, and then he said it didn't really happen
Oh
much because
yeah.
Tom had his head up too far up Alex Guerrero's ass. That was like Bill had like his Amendola thing was awesome, and the Guerrero stuff was perfect too.
And the Matt Light catching strays.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I thought that was like just a nice. He felt really comfortable just shitting on the lineman, which I thought that was like, that was his run the ball at the middle halfback dive. Like let me just get something started here so we get a little momentum going.
Were you trying to make a little joke there yourself with the shitting on the lineman and Matt Light? That's a low
Oh,
blow.
oh well, yeah, yeah.
Do you get what I'm going for, or no?
No, no, I don't.
He was talking about how he had
I don't. I'm
Crohn's. Then he
sorry.
made fun. That's when he said that Matt. Sorry, I just
Oh,
watched
oh,
it.
he took. Oh no, I got you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
So, yeah, it's fresh in your mind.
the other thing too was the Gronk stuff. So again, I haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
Gronk yet. I'm very excited, and that was again another joke that Bill like. It was
It
perfect.
derails.
Don't.
Just a little
Oh,
warning.
it derails.
Yeah,
What a shocker! Like
yeah.
this is where you and I were talking about this. I'd give him if he was like, listen, I'm not as dumb as everybody says I is, and like, all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt to prove it. And I'm not saying that we can't all like. He could still have a dumb moment if that happens, but I'm sorry. Like you put on this dumb persona, at least persona. I will grant you that right now, all the time. What do you expect us to think?
I
Seriously,
know.
like you really do
Yeah.
come across that dumb. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that's like as a malicious thing. It's just you really do
No, and I think he
right.
leans into it a little bit, but I think he was also, I mean, it was a lot. Like some of these roasts, I remember, I think it was Pamela Anderson's roast. she invited Courtney Love as to be, or Courtney Love got invited to be one of the speakers, and there wasn't really a connection other than like she was just used as a human shield for Pamela Anderson. So like, it would take some of the heat off of Pamela Anderson in the roaster's chair because Courtney Love was such an easy target to make fun of.
Oh, interesting.
And I wonder, like obviously Gronk
yeah.
and Brady are friends and close and everything like that. But, in the case of Kim Kardashian, like everyone knows that you're going to get a few Kim Kardashian jokes like there. So, all right, that's a little bit of heat off there. We bring in Gronk. He's an idiot. That takes some heat off of me here. I think it helps spreading it around. Kind of speaking to Brady's career.
This is very true, but I just wonder for him, like he seemed genuinely confused, and
well,
it's honestly so ironic. Like every time the camera panned to him, he's like mad or confused. It's like you're proving everybody's point. Like, but if you were just laughing along at all of it, it's like, oh, okay, he's in on the joke, he gets it. Maybe Gronk's not as dumb as everybody says he is. Like, no, you're hammering it home, dude.
Yeah, but I would think as the night went on, you're drinking a little bit more. You're a competitive athlete. You've obviously been pampered your whole life. People praise you and adore you and everything. So at a certain point, you're like, all right, let's get the fuck on here. What are we doing?
I agree. After a certain point, you would think so. But it was right off the rip. Like I don't.
Oh yeah.
Maybe there was like one or two, but it seemed like he got over it real quick.
Yeah. I think he probably read the room. He's like, all right, this isn't letting up anytime soon. It's the same thing with Brady. A couple of the things with Giselle and the marriage and stuff. You could see that he was forcing a smile there. But at first, he's like, all right, this is what we're getting here. And then he's like, oh shit, this is what's happening.
And that's what I mean. It's like there were moments where there was a moment, around the Belichick one where he like threw his hands up, and I'm like,
yeah,
what do you? Or maybe it was the Burgundy stuff. It's like. This is like, what did you think everybody's going to make like playful, nice jokes and talk about like, something ironic that's like not really like laughing at you, but kind of is funny because it's one of your quirks? No, they're going to play the hits. They're going to make fun of like, I can't believe how long. I don't know if we heard any other Eli Manning jokes before the Ron Burgundy stuff, which by the way,
yeah. It was nice from a member Barry standpoint. He got me a few laughs, but it seemed a little out of place.
Few laughs, not too long. Just I would have. My thing is now, if you're going to do that again, make it like 2 minutes. Like have some knockout jokes and get out of there. Like
yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. I like to keep my Ron Burgundy impression just on the big screen there. Like all the sideshow stuff, I don't really need them in my life. I don't need the Ron Burgundy podcast,
That's a great point. It's like you can't really, I never listened to that. You did, right? The Ron Burgundy podcast?
I think I might have listened to the first episode, but it wasn't, it didn't really hold up for me.
When when he's the only person in on the joke, it just doesn't land.
Yeah,
for me. Like,
and it's such an old character. Like Will Ferrell is inherently just not as funny as he used to be 20 years ago. Which is real. I mean, 2004 I think is when Anchorman came out. It's a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild that but when I saw him come out, I was like, okay, like
yeah, let's
see how this goes. I don't have a whole ton of confidence.
There's a couple more on the back end. It doesn't really land all that well for me. There's a couple guests who come in there. It's good. It's a couple surprises that you wouldn't have heard. Oh. But you mentioned Eli Manning. One name that didn't get mentioned at all, Nick Foles. And that's been the thing. Like apparently that really gets under Brady's skin that Nick Foles, beat him in a Super Bowl because Eli Manning, he's like, probably a Hall of Famer, if for nothing else, those two games, but also the son of Eli or brother of Peyton, and they have some sort of a friendly competitive relationship. So I think there's, a kinship there to a degree, but Nick Foles is such a flash in the pan.
Well, yeah, I mean,
at least that really burns him.
At least you have to grant Eli, it's like the first time it's like frustrating. And obviously that first time it's
epic, right?
From what I understand, I think he said it. Like that is the one he wants back most. And how can it not be
18-0? Yeah, right.
But at least you can say like Eli won both times. Like whether or not whoever you want to blame for that, how those games went.
A little more validating when you do it the second time, right?
Yeah, he won both times. Like he just, for some reason, he did really well against you and the Giants. Coughlin knew what he was doing in those games, and that's it. But yeah, to lose to Foles, and then yeah, I can see how that would bother him more than anything.
Yeah. So, all right. So to put a bow on this, we'll get into the comic book minute in a second. My power rankings of the roasters. It's Nikki Glazer, it's Tony Hinchcliffe, Julian Edelman, Drew Bledsoe, Bill Belichick.
Okay, nice. There's only one of those, no, two of those I have not seen yet. But,
Jules is good. Jules was really good because he's got impressions. He can do Belichick and Brady pretty good. So that's like a leg up on most of the other players.
Do all the linemen go?
No, they don't. Actually, the back rows of both
Oh.
on the comedian side and the player side, they don't go. I'm like wondering why they're up there because it's Light, it's Soldier, it's Lonnie Paxton, McGinnis, Rodney Harrison. They don't all say anything.
Yeah,
And nobody went after Willie too. He's he
Yeah.
beat someone up in a bar recently with a not recently, but within like the last couple of years with a bottle. So like there's no jokes of that going around. He's a big man.
I mean, you can't Willie. Well, Rodney Harrison obviously is Sunday Night Football, and Willie's obviously like Willie is Willie a Hall of Famer? Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I was stunned when Bill said that Rodney Harrison's not in the Hall.
He should. He's been saying that for a while though.
That's ridiculous.
He really should be a Hall of Famer.
That's absurd. But those two are the only guys in that back row where it's like they it would make sense if they talk. Like everybody, like the linemen, it's like no one outside of New England knows who they are. Like Julian Edelman's even kind of pushing it when it comes to that. I feel like at least. But
there's a special guest who comes in at the end who makes a good reference to that.
Oh, okay. So there you go. And also just to put a bow on it for me, like Amendola, that's why you're back there.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't sitting up with his boy Edelman or Gronk, right? Those are the they all hang out on Instagram together and stuff.
Because nobody knows who you are.
I know, it's too bad. Handsome man though. Handsome man.
Yeah, but I'm very annoyed with what he did on principle. Seriously, again, I don't feel bad when people like want to shit on Belichick. Well, you know what? In the past, I didn't. When everybody started turning on him, it's like, well, I thought, what happened to Bill?
You made him a martyr,
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. But anyways, I actually, you know what? Real quick, the Bledsoe joke about when I got fired. At least somebody wanted me for a job.
Oh yeah.
And he just took a nice sip out of his drink. That was reminding me of how good a job he did.
Well, I don't want to ruin it, but when Tom gets up at the end, he makes a very funny joke about 9/11, and he's like, "We all remember where we were that day when two jets crashed into Drew Bledsoe and almost killed him," or something like that.
I did see that one on Twitter. That was wow.
I was like, "Oh, jeez." But I do like the good play on words. I'm a sucker for wordplay, so kudos to Tom on that.
I'm just gonna sip my tea on that one.
Kudos to everyone who takes part in Free Comic Book Day, which happened last week. But we got the comic book minute right now.
A superb choice.
Yeah, so quite a few titles that you're going to want to check out this week. As Wes said, if you went to Free Comic Book Day, make sure you go to your local comic shop on Wednesday. That's when you're going to be able to get any new comics hitting shelves. We got Wolverine 49, the penultimate issue of the Sabretooth War. That has been a bi-weekly event. I'm not sure when the trade for that's going to come up, but I'm sure they're not going to make the people wait too long with Wolverine and Deadpool coming up a little bit later in the summer. Then we got from Image, we got I Hate Fairyland issue 14, a title that I talked about fairly recently on TLDR. And then by the same writer of that series, creator of that series, Scotty Young, we have Ain't No Grave issue 1, which is like a Western story. It's got a cartoony art style. Jorge Corona is his artist on that, who he did Middle West for, which is a book Joe has talked about on TLDR previously, but I really enjoyed that first issue. And then a book you guys have probably heard me talk about quite a bit. I feel like I've mentioned it on this show too a fair amount. From Mad Cave, we have The Devil That Wears My Face, issue 6, which is this like big, massive, epic exorcism story.
Okay.
I knew it was going to be a lot because of the artist, who was actually Uncle Buck's brother.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, he's an outstanding horror artist. He does, and this series is a great example of it. But it's this series started out so strong, and it's been strong all the way through. But I got into it thinking like, okay, it's like Alex Cormack is the artist. I like the premise, and then it's basically like this. We're getting an instance where like the demon and the priest are switching places, and then it just turns into chaos from there. I didn't expect it to turn into this big explosive thing that it has, and it's just gotten bigger and louder and nastier with every single issue. And I'll talk about it at length on TLDR, like when around when the trade comes out. But this has been an outstanding series. So awesome stuff there. And then on TLDR this week, Joe's talking Haunted Girl, which is an Image Comics story. And then I'm talking, speaking of violent and vicious, The Ribbon Queen, which is an AWA Studios title.
It's interesting. Do you really are the artists who make these like gruesome horror, pictures, comic books? Do you think they're a good hang?
You know what? So we interviewed Alex, the artist of The Devil That Wears My Face, the aforementioned brother of Uncle Buck. He is like nicest guy. Like
you got to imagine to be able to like think of that gruesome stuff. You're like, you got to have some sick stuff going on in your mind.
Dude,
what does their bedroom look like? That sort of thing.
He drew this one. So you've seen before in some capacity, I'm sure, right? When like you're dealing with like an Exorcist type movie specifically, where like a character's like their bodies getting like contorted and stuff.
Yeah, I
was stunned at how impactful his illustration of that was. Because it's just like this gruesome, grisly stuff that you see in art that's impressive. But that I would have expected, like, okay, on screen, like that's really impactful because you're seeing it all happen. It's like, oh, that hurts and oh, that's nasty. It hit me in a different way with the way he illustrated it, but it was still like, this is so well done. But I agree with you. Like I've made that joke a lot recently. Like this guy, he needs to talk to somebody.
Well, yeah, that's what I think of. Like, do you think Marilyn Manson's a good hang? Rob Zombie, like that's probably like the musical equivalent of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know about. I don't think Marilyn Manson is, but I don't know about. I can't speak to Rob Zombie necessarily, but yeah, I mean, like these. I guess Stephen King would be like another example.
Yeah.
So we've interviewed quite a few horror horror art. Actually, like Jason Sean Alexander is another example for Philadelphia. We talked to him at C2E2, like wicked nice guy. But yeah, like they just I don't know. That's like
some demons lying underneath. Like what devil is wearing your face right now? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Turn it back around on them.
This is why when you say like, oh, what do you mean? Like I didn't make that wasn't a joke. Like what do you mean? It's like,
no, that was a more of an attempt there.
Yeah. I don't believe you half time because you're always on. I know you are. Anyway,
usually sometimes on, sometimes off, but yeah. We'll go with it either way. You know what was always on? A nice like 2-hour 20-minute throw ride is the Fall Guy exit survey.
Yes, let's talk about it. All right, so the synopsis for this bad boy: a down and out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film.
Pretty succinct, pretty to the point. Not much to this movie here, a couple of twists, but yeah, pretty on par there. This is directed by David Leitch and written by Drew Pearce and Glenn A. Larson. Starring Ryan Gosling as Colt Seavers, Emily Blunt as Jody Moreno, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Tom Ryder, Hannah Waddingham as Gail Meyer, Teresa Palmer as Iggy Star. Don't really see too much of her. Stephanie Sue as Alma Milan, Winston Duke, our guy Winston Duke there is Dan Tucker, Ben Knight as Dressler, who was I think it was the bodyguard for Tom Ryder there.
Probably.
Toos as Dune. I like that. I like just having two single name people in the movie.
Yeah. Need more of it.
And then, of course, Cincinnati Red slugger Adam Dunn playing Nigel there. The very true outcome king.
So, wait a minute. So, it's not. It's a different Adam Dunn. No. Okay. Yeah. Because, when I looked up the cast for this originally,
it can't be. I don't know for sure.
I was just making sure I wasn't going crazy. It's not. But when I looked it up originally on Google, it showed Adam Dunn as being the baseball player. But then I looked at the IMDb and it was somebody else. So
good for him. He was country strong and then moonlighting as an actor. He's got a fledgling acting career in his post MLB life. I like that.
why not find a way to mix him in? Like the more like once I saw that, I was like, okay, that's not him in it. But why isn't he in it? He like let's find a way
You
to get him involved.
what's he doing right now, right? He's just finish your bales of hay. You do that in the morning anyway, and then hop on a movie set.
Throw him a couple bones. Have him start being in the mix. Just have him be a big bad that doesn't talk every once in a while, and you can kill him off real quick.
That's true. And with him, he would just have the three true outcomes of either winning an Oscar, winning a Razzie, or just not getting a role.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's pretty much it.
That's a great way to put it. Let's right now change my mind that this is our new thing. We're going to become the Adam Dunn Fan Club podcast.
Officially stamp it. No vetoes, none of that here.
Yes, 100%. All right, let's get to the box office and critics reception because you did allude to this a little bit earlier. So this brought in 65.4 million worldwide in its opening weekend, 28.5 million domestic, which is that's a pretty surprisingly low number when you look
more internationally, right?
Yeah, that's
odd.
I'm kind of very surprised at that actually, like that it did as well as it did overseas comparatively. This is a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 83-87 split on Rotten Tomatoes, with 3.9 out of 5 on Google reviews. Yet 93% of Google users like this movie. Google continues to be perplexing. Maybe it's some AI thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. That's a good reason. We can always blame it on AI. That'll be the ultimate excuse moving forward here. Yeah, a little interesting because this does seem like a blockbuster type movie. Where like if this was a post Memorial Day release, maybe this gets a little bit more action. Because it is an action movie, but there is a little something for everyone. I believe it's a PG-13 movie, so kids can go to it. But like you and I did, we take the girlfriend. You have a little date night.
Yeah, I get that plenty of movies don't like that aren't from IP previously, but then again, this is from IP previously. This is from a show. I don't.
Oh, yeah. It was an older show.
Yeah, an older show, definitely before our time. Definitely something that I never watched, but this had a $130 million budget. It seems it's been reported to get this this low of a number. It deserves better. I mean, I think the Rotten Tomatoes gradings are pretty on point. I'm a little bit higher than them, but I know we're in the general ballpark of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I saw somewhere on the Twitter sphere that they already have Fall Guy 2 script made. So it's just depending on really how well it does in the box office. So if you like this movie or you like these actors and you want to see more of this movie and you haven't seen the first one yet, get out and see it. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we got there.
I feel like we've been seeing quite a bit of that, and probably because it didn't do so well monetarily. It's just like it's a fun time. It's a fun movie. Like this is a reason you go to the movies, but at the same time, like it's when you have all the stuff that you have at home with I'll just wait till it's on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like why I get why people aren't motivated to go to the movies. It's
I hear you. Sad stuff here. But what do we got for a score and tweet length review?
So I gave this a 90 out of 100. Gosling can do no wrong right now. This man is on fire.
He is.
His chemistry with Emily Blunt is outstanding. Would love to see them partner up again. All around, a good time with a whole lot of heart.
Yeah, I think we're on the same block. We're in the same neighborhood. 86 out of 100. This lived up to everything that I thought it would be, everything I wanted it to be. Didn't necessarily exceed expectations, but I'm not sure if there's a ceiling to this type of movie at the same time. You just kind of have fun with it, right? But there's action, there's romance, comedy, and like you said, a very likable leading duo. Great date movie.
Yeah. Very, very much so. And for me, like we've talked about this before, like not for a while though, the grade ranges, like when I see a movie, I feel like, it belongs in a certain range. I feel like where I'm at, like 90, it's like, if anybody said more than that, I'd be kind of surprised. Like it must scratch an itch for them. But anything lower than an 85, like I'm not talking about critics, like anything lower than an 85 would surprise me. Maybe lower than 84 would surprise me. This is like a solid, well done movie. It's a fun time. There's a lot of stuff that I liked in it, but it's like there's the bones of it, like the foundation of it. It's like it's very well done. It's quality.
Yeah, it's a good time. I think again, this is made to catch a wide audience, and I think it hits on a lot of what it was trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's dive in here. Before we dive into maybe actually reviewing the movie as itself. Is there a stunt that you think you can do? And did you leave thinking like, oh, maybe I can do some of this stuff?
No, no way, man. I'm way too nervous about like something happening. Like I'm all set with a lot of that heights, especially too. Like the one that Ryan Gosling injured himself
Yeah.
on. It's
Oh,
like,
no way. I wouldn't want to do that. No, you're absolutely right. The
no,
heights thing I
thank you.
wouldn't want to do.
I think the only thing I could do is like taking hits because when I was like working as a strength coach, one of the guys I worked with was like a
Mhm.
MMA fighter. So we would like do like I would actually do stuff with him where he would hit me in the stomach, like not we're not talking like
Did you
face
have
or
like the
anything.
pad on or anything, or
No,
it was live? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but he was wearing gloves, like a boxing gloves.
Mhm.
So there was that. At least I wasn't bare knuckle, but um at the same time I think that's probably the only thing I could do. I'm not saying, and I don't feel immensely confident saying that. But
So I
otherwise,
think
no.
I could do a car roll.
Oh, well, good for you.
Because I think if you think about it, you're strapped in, right? So like they're not really showing you. I'm sure it's rigged up much like a NASCAR is, where you have the over the shoulder harnesses and you're not really moving anything. Your head probably stays straight. If they're not doing like an in the car shot, right? If you're just getting like an outside exterior shot, I could think it's called, where they're not showing the driver. Like I think I could do that. So
Okay.
everything's reinforced for the most part. That you got the extra rollover bars that come with like the Jeep Wranglers, like those type of builds.
Oh yeah, the Jeep Wrangler. That's because isn't that the car that like used? I don't know if it's still a thing, but I remember that hearing like Jeep slip over all the time, and it was specifically about Wranglers.
Yeah, well, I think so. 'Cause I think it's the weight distribution is off. Maybe not as much
Yeah.
now, but I think maybe back in the day. But because you could take the top off and because you can go off roading with it, I think they had to make those bars really
Mhm.
reinforced there, so you
I'd
get a little
hope
bit of a roll cage to it.
I'd hope they'd have figured it out at this point. But I will say I have thought about if I ever like heaven forbid had my car flip in the air, I have to make sure that I say, yeah, I'm up in the air. It's definitely not good. Um, for all my Ricky Bobby fans out there. I think
Yeah,
about that. I honestly think about that way too often, believe it or not.
yeah, yeah. I also would like to get thrown through a breakaway glass window.
Oh,
I think
that
I
seems
think
more
I could do
reasonable.
that.
That seems more reasonable than the car flip,
Although
personally.
I'm curious about the shards at that point, because like the shards like always screws me up. You think of like the classic scene and Die Hard, right? Like he's walking on the
Mm.
glass shards at that. But are the breakaway ones really that sharp?
Is it actually glass?
That's my question. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's obviously tampered with in some way or built in some way that it breaks just that easily, because glass would usually like shard.
Yeah, there's no way it's actual
You
glass. I
get
mean,
like bigger sheets instead of like the little tiny pebbles.
I know they do some insane shit for sure, but I mean, I feel like there's no way it's maybe it is actual glass though. What do I know?
Yeah, I have no idea. Or they show this in kind of like the courtship between Jody and Colt. There is she breaks
The bottle.
a bottle over the head there, and like that would be kind of fun. I would like to try those things. Like that would
Yeah.
be cool.
That again feels a little bit more reasonable, but yeah, I don't know. I
No,
will say
setting
like
on fire though, like no, thank you.
ever since the was it the guy in the Patriot? There was like a guy in the Patriot who like they were like filming something. I remember seeing this years ago where like I think it was like a newscast or something. A guy's face like got cut by a sword when they were like filming the Patriot. I'm just pretty sure it was
We
that.
talked about blades last week, and blades make me queasy.
Yeah, like I've always been like ever since I saw that, I've always been weary of like just stunt stuff. Like it just seems like man, like the people who do this have to be out of their mind. Yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah,
just
but it's kind of a badass role though.
oh yeah. I mean, if yeah, obviously you're very cool if you do something like that. That's why we talked
Super
about it off the
super
rip.
duper cool.
Like I'm definitely if there are more movies that are about that, then yeah, I'd be interested in checking it out, especially for the Fall Guy too.
So this kind of dovetails into our next question, but on the way home, I'm asking the wife what she thought about it, best performance by a side character, all the questions that we usually go
Oh
through.
wow.
And I was asking her what stunt she thinks she could do, and without hesitation, she's like, jump out of a moving car. And I'm like, whoa, that is a huge leap. Like,
Wow.
that was the first thing she went to. She said with her dance background, being able to like distribute her weight and like knowing how to fall and roll. And I'm like, okay, I can see the logic behind it, but that's also like 60 mile an hour. Like we were on the way home, on the
Yeah.
highway. We went to the Dartmouth theaters. So I was like, all right, let's try it out now. Like, why don't you just hop out of the car now?
Oh, really?
She didn't do it.
I feel like for Julia, when you because of her dancing background, like if you said like, oh, do like the like spy, like like the stuff that like the moves that Black Widow does, where like she like
Hmm.
attacks somebody and like gets them with their like with their legs around their head, like that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, a dancer could probably do that.
That's the move there. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
like
probably happened a time or two.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
for fighting, a lot of the fighting stuff is basically just dance, just
choreographed.
yeah, choreographed. Thank you. Yeah.
No, absolutely. What was I going to say? The thing that freaks me out, actually, she stopped doing this, but she would always put her feet up on the dashboard,
Mhm.
as in the passenger seat. And I'll
Mhm.
be like, why would you do this? Because you're a dancer. If we were to get into an accident, like your hips are gone. Like you
Oh yeah.
you lose complete like lower half function of your body.
Yeah, that's I guess it's just one of the things you get spoiled about, like when you just don't.
Yeah, I think like that's something I never really thought about as a kid or growing up or anything. But like, just the airbag alone, like not even thinking about the impact, but the
Wow.
airbag that getting deployed, you get folded up like a lawn chair.
Yeah, that's oh god. I've never thought about that.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I can't get that thought out of my mind now. So she doesn't do it though, so that's nice.
There you go.
Um, so that's nice. What did the wives think of this? That's dovetailing into the question there.
Yeah, so Lauren was a fan of this. She actually gave it an 88 out of 100, so that
Hmm.
is what my aggregate score is. So she's just further bolstering that.
Well, Jules
And
gave it an 89, so between 87 to 90, we're all well represented.
yeah, look at that. Wow. So there you go. Just again, like further hammers at home. And also now we know who are the easier graders in our households. I already
Yeah.
knew between me and my wife. I didn't know between you and Jules though who was
Oh
the
yeah, yeah. Well, she's not a huge movie person, but
Mm,
when we pick and choose the right ones. She doesn't always come to me when we review movies. She didn't come for Civil War, but this one I had a feeling she would like, and it was hey,
yeah.
it worked
And
out.
the big thing for Lauren was that she appreciated the jokes that seemed to be like inside baseball kind of jokes about stuntmen specifically, and she was talking about it, like she mentioned it during the movie like quietly to me and after the movie, how about how Cole, like the whole bit about him never getting his coffee, and then
Yeah.
it's
Oh
like
yeah.
like he's has like I think it's 3 times where he comes close to getting it, and then by the end of it it's like he never got his coffee, did he?
I don't think I picked up on the running gag there. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, so it was.
Uh,
I didn't know that was. I don't know if that's a thing, but to like you said, it feels like it's a thing.
yeah. I can imagine. So it's the I get no respect, because like as much as you're an intricate part of the set and
Yep.
like the whole movie, but you're really not.
Yeah, and you're always doing something, so you never get the coffee. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a lot of different
absolutely.
reasons why I can see that. So yeah, so she was. So she very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll pepper in some of Jules's answers here because she, like I said, answered all the questions for me in a text. But
Oh
she
wow!
she loved it overall here, so we're all on the same page. Moving on to the most rewatchable scene, I'll give Jules's answer now. It's when Ryan Gosling gets relit over and over to smash into a rock by
Oh,
Emily
that was
on
fun.
set, and I think from a woman's perspective, right? That's like got to be kind of like a wet dream. Just
Yeah,
setting your
actually,
ex-boyfriend on fire and then throwing him into a rock.
that's actually a funny. Yeah, that probably is. I really enjoyed that. That was very well done. Yeah, they they did they handled that. They had it just long enough. That was well done. Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. I didn't think of that.
I thought it was pretty good. That was a nice moment. My favorite, I think we might be in alignment here. The neon drug induced club fight scene.
Dude,
Thought that was fun. That was
that
pretty
was
cool.
great.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was like I didn't see that coming at all in this. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the car chase scene with Jean Claude, the I think that's a Belgian Malinois or a Belgian Shepherd.
Oh, that's the
Um,
kind of dog? Okay.
I think so. Those are like they're used in canines a lot. They're police dogs a lot, but they're short haired German shepherds, pretty much.
Well, you're the dog guy here, so you're the one that's I'm gonna defer to you on that.
Well, yeah. So a buddy of mine actually would train them. He would get all his pups from like a canine breeding facility.
Hmm.
And he would train them to do. I probably mentioned this on the podcast before. I forget what it's called, but it's like I think it's like IBO or something like that. But where the dogs go tracking, and then they have like someone in a an attack suit and they attack the arm, and they have to do like follow trails and scents and all this type of stuff. So it's like not really like it's like Boy Scouts for dogs.
Hmm.
It's like you're not a cop, but you're learning everything that you could be a
Gotcha.
cop, you know?
Oh,
So you would
okay.
have he had like 4 or 5 Belgian Malinois, and they were very well trained dogs. And much like Jean Claude, though he was trained in French, these dogs were trained in German.
Oh,
Yeah, and I remember I have such I can barely speak English coherently here, but when my buddy was telling me the commands to tell the dogs so that they would listen, I forget what the commands were, but for sit or to lay down, I was trying to say it and I wasn't saying or pronouncing it right, and I could see the dog kind of like hesitate to listen, like he almost heard the command, but this doesn't sound right, and he
huh.
kind of had like a curled head, like,
Wow.
oh, you didn't say that right, but I
Wow.
think it was sit down.
That's wow. That's
Very,
impressive.
very smart dogs.
That's crazy impressive. Wow. Yeah, and we'll talk more about Jean Claude. I'm sure a little bit later, but the car scene was great. The club scene was great. I know. I don't think you enjoyed it as much as I did, but I did enjoy the final fight sequence. It was all over the place, and I thought that was fun.
It was,
And
yeah,
then
it was fun, but it was just kind of like out of nowhere.
that's fair.
Yeah.
The speaking of out of nowhere though, getting the Metal Storm trailer at the end
Yes.
with
Oh, that was a
Momoa,
nice touch. Yeah,
that
and just
was
Momoa was going for it there, you
it
know?
was yeah, he was just like, I'm just gonna be what everybody thinks I am. Take notes, Gronk. Like it
Mhm.
was so I loved it. I was like, I kind of want to see a Metal Storm movie now.
Well, my quite that's Dune, right? That's what they're making fun of or
It seemed like
spoofing.
it. It seemed
Because
like that.
there was even kind of like a group woman chant that played over the top. Maybe it was during the trailer or like some scene that they were shooting, but it was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
ah, you
Lauren
know.
said Dune when that happened too. So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the vibe that I got there. Cause yeah, it's like a sci-fi romance story, right? Isn't that kind of what they're saying?
It was a sci-fi romance story. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
I,
was
I I thought that was pretty good. I also what was the other thing that I like? Yeah, this isn't like a most rewatchable scene, but maybe this would age the best. This is kind of going off of what Lauren was saying about the inside joke for the stuntmen and the coffee. But I loved Winston Duke and Ryan Gosling speaking in movie terms. Like so, like, oh, like they would like reference all these
mm,
different fights. And he's like, oh, it's from that movie, right? Or sometimes they wouldn't even acknowledge what movie it was from, but they were kind of speaking the movie lingo and trying
mhm.
to like recreate the things that they saw on the big screen. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool.
They him and Duke did a really good job. Yeah, Gosling and Duke had uh, there were some solid performances in this. Like it's not like you had there were some actors. Obviously, there were some heavy hitters in this, but like the I don't know who was it that played the agent again. What was her name? Gail Meyer.
Oh
Hannah
yeah.
Wang. She's somebody. I just don't. I don't
She's
know
kind
why
of like
no.
a that guy. Like I
Yeah.
recognize the face, right? And it's like, where have I
Yes.
seen her?
Yes.
I
Exactly.
I thought she was from Parks and Rec, the TV anchor lady.
that's that's
From
funny.
Pawnee Today. What's her? I can't think of her
I
name,
don't
but I
remember
thought
her
that was
name.
the same person, but
Oh, is this
it's not.
Oh, she's in, Thrones in some capacity and Ted Lasso. Um,
Oh, okay. Oh, I guess she's British, right? All that stuff lines up there.
Les Mis. Yeah, but alright, anyways, I'm getting it derailed here.
Yeah, no. So yeah, there was a good. The neon drug induced fight scene was great. The car chase scene again with the dog, awesome stuff. Anytime you get a car chase scene and you throw a dog in there that's biting crotches, like that's A+ work on my in
Yeah.
my
No, but
opinion there.
they visually too, there was I mean, this was, again, $130 million budget. I feel like they made great use of everything when it came to, like, the special effects.
Everything looked good, and what I like this, kind of gives me Tropic Thunder type vibes, where you're like
Yeah.
getting a movie behind the set of a movie being made, so you kind of see the excuse me, the creators just like mocking different tropes that they see in Hollywood, right? It's like the actor who appears to do his own stunts but doesn't do his own stunts, and he's like really builds himself up on that, or the backstabbing, untrustworthy agent, or whatever it is, right? So there was a lot of those things in there, which gave me Tropic Thunder vibes.
That's a great comp. honestly, for this.
So we're already kind of halfway into this, but what will age the best from this movie?
Um, Gosling and Blunt. I mean, I hope we get to see more of them. I feel like they earned
Even
that.
like promo stuff, they're very likable. Like their on-screen chemistry is very high. They joke around with each other. Like, yeah, it was off the charts.
My only concern is just are they, movie people who finance these movies, are they going to be like, you guys do a great job, but you just don't put enough asses in the seats for some reason? Are they
It's
gonna?
amazing, right? Because they're in two of the biggest movies of the year last year,
Was there
and it's like
jokes about that I didn't even realize? Like for this movie, did they make jokes about Barbenheimer with these two?
I don't think so. Or I mean, I didn't follow the press tour, super closely, but nothing that went viral that I
That
saw.
would have been that would have been from a marketing standpoint, and honestly, from how do you make fun of Dune? So I get it, but if you were if you really wanted to get the people put asses in the seats, you make the movie that they're making about it, like the movie within the movie is
Right.
either Oppenheimer or Barbie, or maybe finding a way to blend the two.
Yeah,
Something.
and maybe they're too. That was too close. Dune had come
Yeah,
out 3 years earlier, so probably when this script is getting made, like the first one, not Dune Part Two, right? So like
yeah,
maybe that just lined up time wise better.
100%, 100%. Yeah, it's easier said than done, but I mean, like in a perfect world, like I love the movie how it is. I'm just thinking from a marketability standpoint, that would
Sure.
have been perfection.
Yeah. It's too bad because they had a lot of chemistry together, and like Emily Blunt is. And, I was putting this in the group chat. Like she's almost like the female equivalent of Ryan Gosling, where she can play a really serious role really well, but she's very jokeable. She's laughable. She can poke fun at herself. She seems like down to earth. Like it doesn't really seem like what we were talking about with Brady. Like unrelatable at a certain point, right? It's like kind of the exact opposite with Gosling and Blunt, where these people are super rich and famous, but you feel like you could still hang out with them.
Yeah, I think with Emily Blunt more so than Gosling, I don't think this is at all like a bold statement. Like she is more of like an actor to me. Like she can
Sure.
go to that
Mhm.
higher
She's
level.
British, yeah.
Yeah, sure. There you go. That too. But she goes to that higher level than that. I don't know personally if Gosling. Well, no, Gosling. I mean,
I mean, he's got some great roles, but they're not like Oscar worthy. But you think
y-
of like Drive or is it The Place Beyond the Pines?
I've never
With
seen that one,
Eva
but I
Mendes and I
no
think
one
it's
that
called
does a
Pine.
better job of acting and not saying anything than
Yes.
Ryan Gosling. There's
Yeah.
no question about that. But I feel like she just has more range. But at the same time, like I agree with you, like they're just both on screen. It's like I enjoy them. Like whatever they're doing, like they do well. They thrive in the positions that they're put in on screen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Gosling's great at brooding. Just kind of staring and like a blank stare at the camera.
Yeah, it's always
Uh,
weird when because like I mean, the first role I know him from is Remember the Titans, and he's just like this like
that's right.
weaselly,
Oh
like
yeah.
skinny kid, and that's like nobody like he just gets passed over. And he's a good dude in the movie, but it's like
Well, he
that's
gets he
him
gets
now.
benched for Petey,
I think
or Petey
so,
gets put on defense there.
something like that, and he's totally fine with it. Like, but
Yeah.
I think his
His
dad
dad
lost it.
wasn't.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah.
But I but that's the first and he's turned into like Ryan Gosling now. It's like
Sure, the heartthrob, yeah. I mean,
crazy.
that's all the Notebook, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But then he just maintained that momentum with what is the movie with Steve Carell and
Oh yeah, Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. Thank you. I'm really
Mhm.
pissed that I forgot that. But Crazy Stupid Love and
Great rom-com.
and then obviously Barbie. Well, that's actually kind of I'm glad you bring up rom-com because I don't think this is like labeled as a rom-com. It's but it's obviously I think it's like action comedy is what it's labeled
Mhm.
as.
That's surprising to me.
I mean it definitely is, I mean well, you
It
know what,
centers around a relationship.
right, but it's also centers around a stunt guy. So
That's true. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And there's like a big conspiracy or twist, that's in there. Maybe one too many twists for what this movie really was, but whatever. It's a fun time at the end of it.
But this still very much like I don't think anybody's gonna look at this and say that's not a rom com. Like it's okay, maybe
Yeah.
rom is the third billing on this, fine. But I think that when we're talking about what's gonna age best, I think rom coms are kind of starting to make a comeback because you had that the Sydney Sweeney and Glenn
Sure.
Powell. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but
I'm not into it, or No Hard Feelings. No.
I'll find it in a second.
Yeah.
But
Something like
Lauren
that.
watched it. She's like, "Oh no, this is pretty good," and I didn't expect either of us to be interested in it. And then this was kick ass. So, and people seem to like that Glenn Powell Sydney Sweeney movie. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Anyone But You. That's
anyone
it.
but you.
Yeah, I
There we
knew it
go.
was some kind of snappy name like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that seems like a good pair too. That would have a lot of fun, just kind of like poking into their lives with. I'm with you. I like that. We need some good rom coms here.
Yeah, and
That's the
with
hellhole that's going on around us. We need some like light, affable, funny, romantic type of stuff to kind of take our minds off of it.
and then look, there's plenty of rom coms back in the day where just like it was all about the romance with the comedy mixed in and stuff like that. This,
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying they all need to be action rom coms, but just like I like having that be like the B plot kind of in this. Like
Hmm.
it does move a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I just the mix that they had here. I know monetarily it hasn't done so well, but I would really like to see the evolution of rom-com be to like build off of like Fall Guys, like what they did here.
This is a good template. I agree. I
Yeah,
think this
template.
could
Thank
be
you.
a winning formula, even. So we mentioned some of the things. Obviously, Gosling and Blunt's on-screen chemistry. How about this? How about deep fake technology is coming for us all, and just the whirlwind of problems that could potentially create.
Yeah, I do appreciate how like deliberately bad they made Gosling's face on
Yeah,
Aaron Taylor Johnson's. I appreciated that.
yeah. Right? Was his like head turned around or something?
Yeah, it was just massive. It
Yeah,
didn't look
yeah.
like it fit on his
Right.
body correctly at all.
Something that I think also ages the best is Gosling's like subtle humor, right? It's like when he
Yeah.
walks into the hotel room and he realizes the camera's watching him, and then you see him kind of cover up his face with his collar, and then that ends up getting on like local TV or whatever, and you
Mhm.
see it from the CCTV point of view.
Yeah.
It's like that he's like kind of like, oh shit, and he's like, I don't know, subtly very funny. I like that.
Yeah.
But the deep fake stuff, very creepy.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if have you ever seen like the quote unquote impersonators? I don't know if this is a confirmed thing or not, but of like the presidents. Have you ever seen like Biden when he had like it looked like his face was melting? He had this like weird double chin thing, and it was like a double butt chin. And it's like, I don't know. It didn't really look at people say it's like he's got body doubles to kind of help handle his big schedule. Same thing with Trump. There was a photo of Trump with or video Trump with who's the boxer, the young boxer, Ryan Garcia. He was just in a match. They showed him at like Mar-a-Lago, and he looked so young and skinny. And it's
Hmm.
like, no, that's not like his face looked like super tight. He didn't look like a nearly 80-year-old man.
Huh.
So I wonder for some of these, maybe lower level things, they just get one of the body doubles in.
Oh well, I mean, I feel like that's a thing we've heard for like
Well, they
years.
do it with Zelensky and Putin, and they said Saddam Hussein had body doubles going around. And that's all pretty confirmed.
Why do I feel like I heard that became a thing with Reagan? Maybe I'm
It could
maybe
have been. I mean, he's an actor. He would have the connections to
this is true.
that type of stuff.
And that could be where, and then it just started from there. I feel like that's I heard. I feel like I heard that before, but I may be misremembering. But yeah, no, but that also still either way doesn't stun me. Like that totally,
Oh
totally
yeah,
makes sense.
it just freaks me out. Much like with the AI stuff. How much longer before this gets good? And it's like this is kind of like the beta test right now to see like, all right, well, we need to find out what's not working, and then we'll fix those holes, and then I don't know, 10 years from now, you won't be able to discern what's a fake video from a real person or not.
Yep,
It's concerning to me.
I mean, yeah, it should be concerning. I think, quite honestly, because it's going to lead to. There's a chance it'll lead to problems, and there's also a good chance too that like when it's like, oh, let's stop this, let's make this not a thing anymore, and then it's gonna be like,
No,
oh no,
horses
it's
out of the barn now. Yeah, you can't.
Skynet. But anyways, that sounds too tinfoily. I just think that it's a thing that needs to be respected, and it's not being respected.
Yeah, no, it just kind of worries me right there. So that's like one of the things that I reluctantly say will probably age the best because it seems inevitable, but I really hate it. Like in the moment, it's aging the worst for me,
I, I'm
personally.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they made it look so bad. I
Yeah,
do appreciate
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be like you could be anywhere. Maybe in 10 years, Nick, that's you in Ryan Gosling's spot. And all of a sudden you're framed for a murder and there's evidence to it. And you're like, I wasn't here.
Yeah, he
Always keep
would
an
do.
alibi, you know?
He would do that. Will you be my standby alibi?
Yeah. We got to make a pact, like a blood pact. You know,
Okay.
we each got each other's back, and that situation goes
There we
down.
go.
We might
Good.
be in different states, but you know, we had just hung out at 7 o'clock on a Monday
Yeah.
somewhere. I don't
He
know.
flew in, it's Greek Easter. So
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, absolutely.
I read
What do
the
you think's
notes.
gonna age the worst from this movie?
Um. Oh, okay. This is the only part of the whole movie where I was like,
Yeah.
like you could have fixed this. And that's where we have Jody beating up Colt. And the
Hmm.
scene
In the
is
alien suit, right?
yes,
Hmm.
thank you. In the alien suit. Scene was great. They did a great job, the two of them. Whoever that stunt person was, because we know that wasn't Ryan Gosling getting his ass
What?
beat by Emily Blunt. But great job. Problem is that you kept the mask on. And again, I get it. Like it's probably easier to not have to edit it or whatever. It makes the fighting easier because you have to worry about Gosling's face not being there
Hmm.
and whatnot. But it's just like there's also kind of like a plot hole in it where it's like they don't need to fight necessarily.
Yeah, and like, how did she get to become such a good fighter?
Well, there's that too. But
She's like got black belt skills there.
that is a fair point. I honestly, the first thing that came to my head was what I addressed, so I didn't care. Like I was like, "Oh, this is well done." So like,
Yeah, it
okay,
did
at
look
least,
good. Yeah, no,
yeah,
you're
at
right.
least you made up for it. But I'm like, you don't. This didn't need to happen, and she stabbed him in the quad, which I guess it probably wasn't where the femoral already was. But when I saw that, I was like, is he about to die now?
Yeah, but again, like the subtle humor of Ryan Gosling, he's like, no, we're good. You pulled it out before the ink poisoning started getting set
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
all right, that's nice.
yeah. But
And
that was
and
the one big one for me.
and that's what's great. This is kind of Ryan Gosling's like shtick anyway. It's like nothing really phases him. He's always got the cool guy. He's just kind of goes with the flow sort of thing. But
Mhm.
that's also the same type of role that Brad Pitt did with Cliff Booth. Cliff
Yes.
Booth. Like he's just kind of go with the flow. Nothing really hurts him. He's kind of like a superhero.
Now that you're saying that, it would be kind of funny to see the two of them
I
do
would like
something
to see
together.
that. Maybe that's the crossover movie. Like it's like almost like not the other guys. The Nice Guys.
The Nice Guys.
But
Is
it's with Cliff Booth and Colt Seavers.
and the Nice
So
Guys
you
is
got like an old guy sort of thing and then a young guy, kind of like a changing of the guard sort of thing. Unlikely team up, but they got to solve a crime.
Russell Crowe's in the Nice Guys, right? Okay, I haven't seen that one. I need to make a point of seeing that.
That's kind of a cult classic. People say that's like Ryan Gosling's best role,
Ooh, okay, didn't realize that.
or
But
maybe like his best performance in a movie.
what's gonna age worse for you from this?
The giant stuntman fight at the end just kind of came out of nowhere. But I guess if you're making like a meta commentary on like, Wakanda Forever or Avengers Endgame or like the big battle scenes of like any of these type things,
Huh.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe that's kind of like the meta joke there. But it just seemed like out of nowhere. Like, where did all these people come from? I also was curious, like, where all of Aaron Taylor Johnson's bodyguards came. Like, suddenly he has all these like armed guards around him. Like that was kind of out of nowhere.
The bit about that being meta though, that big fight.
That could be the case.
That's actually a really because it didn't bug me, and I mean, not that I'm going in looking for things to bug me, but it felt like okay, now we're just going nuts with this, but maybe
Mhm.
that's why it fit because of the meta commentary. I just didn't realize it, but yeah, but it's also fair. Like if I see your point with that.
Jules said, "What age is the worst?" Gail, the producer, did not like Gail. I'm kind of with her. Like, not that the actress did a bad job. It's just a
Okay.
hateable character.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because I thought she did a good job, but yes, she sucked.
Yeah,
100%.
very, very. You can't trust a bitch.
Actually, you know what? That's actually a great point that she ages the worst because at the start of the movie, you don't realize like she sucks, but
Mhm.
then it's like, oh, she brings Colt back and like she's being a needy kind of dickhead, but at the same time, she's like, okay, I get it. But then it's like,
Right.
no. She was setting him up for murder the whole time. So
Yeah,
yes,
And
She
it's
does
pretty
age.
crazy, like sending him to the hotel. That like that's a pretty elaborate scheme that she put together. That's pretty
Yeah.
nuts. And
She
even like that kind of speaks to like what we're saying, like the tropes of the producers. Not that producers set people up for murder, but how like she had a problem, but she positioned it to Colt, saying like, "I'm doing you a favor by getting you back on the set with the love of your life," who had no idea that he was going to be there. You know what I mean? And it's like I can see that kind of happening as like a fixer situation. She's like, I got a problem. Let me position it in a way that this is like, hey, I'm actually throwing you a bone here.
Dude, the more you're talking, the more you're making a case for Gail actually aging the best because it's like she
Well,
wasn't just
maybe she fit the role. You're right. Yeah.
she's not just a jerk. She's like kind of really smart
The
and
puppeteer.
yeah, a puppeteer. Yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
I don't. Jules making some good points. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like
That's,
she's coming for my job here.
yeah, she could be. Wally Pip, watch out. You have to get up with your keeping up with your LinkedIn. Not
Yeah,
all
I'll
right.
join
Let's move
Bill
on there. Okay.
Belichick.
Who had the best performance by a side character, and why was it the four-legged friend?
Yeah, I mean, John Claude was awesome. Like the commands and everything, the
Hmm.
chemistry was on point, precise, everything the whole time. Honestly, too, like I was worried about for him the whole time because right there was a moment where someone had a gun on him,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it was at the end of everything at
Hmm.
the end fight scene. I was like, no, don't shoot the dog,
Yeah,
don't.
it was right. Does Jody save him at the end with the? I feel like that was right around the time she was beating someone up with like the stick that looked like like a metal rock guitar.
Yes, I loved those things. That's exactly what it was because
Yeah,
this she was like, these are
space axe.
they're really starting to grow on me.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. My heart kind of sank at the moment. They're not killing the dog though. They never kill the dog. Um,
You gotta make it
the other
mean something
one,
if you do it.
honorable mention. I'm not sure if this is side character worthy or not, but Winston Duke was great.
Winston Duke was great. Yes, he did an awesome job. I think because like Aaron Taylor Johnson's got third billing in this, but he's in it a fair amount. Obviously, he's like
Hmm.
the big bad kind of as much as you could argue Gale is, but I don't feel like he's in it a ton. But you can't say he's the
But
side.
he does a good job playing that kind of like dickish actor. He does that very well. I'm sure they're all very well versed in that sort of trope.
He does an awesome job. Aaron Taylor Johnson was great, and we'll we can talk more about that in a second. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say like of the humans in this, it probably go to Winston Duke for best performance by a side character.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jean Claude's got four legs, so he's got a little more to stand on there. You know what I mean?
Very true.
Um, who lost the movie, Nick?
Whoever Tom Ryder and Gail Myers were based on, assuming there was like an actor and an agent that served as inspiration. Now, maybe with Gail, maybe it's more just a general joke. But
Hmm.
with Tom Ryder, I know you and I alluded to this earlier. Like you may have some people who you think it is before you go down your list.
Well, I just have
So,
one. I really only have one
oh,
that jumps out. But yeah,
okay. So then tell me. I'm very curious.
I thought it was Tom Cruise. That was my first thought because of how much he gets made out to be doing his own stunts.
You know what? That's actually a fair point too, because he gets brought up twice in this movie.
Does
And
he?
yes, Ryan Gosling mentioned him specifically. Yeah, he definitely mentioned him once. I'm pretty sure he mentioned him twice in the
And
movie.
I think he can be kind of maybe not, I don't know, tough to work with, but I think he's an intense person.
Yep,
You remember him flipping out during the COVID set at
that's
the
right.
like
He
the,
did too.
all the production people.
Yeah, it's
You
him
know,
and Gyllenhaal did that too. But yes,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch that you can choose, but he seemed like the one that jumped out to most of me just because of how much is built up around him doing his own stunts.
yeah, that's interesting because they mentioned him twice, and I was like, I mean, are they like trying to pay a little respect to him because he does his own stunts? But you raise a good point. Like, are they basing it on him with this character? But that doesn't like his persona didn't seem.
No, it didn't match up. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Ryder didn't, but his first name's Tom, so but that could be really on the nose.
Well, and I guess the other one that I was thinking was maybe it's like poking fun of like when you say the persona didn't match up with Tom Cruise. Maybe I thought with like the blonde streaks and stuff, like they were kind of spoofing on Ryan Gosling.
That would be okay. That
And
I
then,
could
like,
see
that
that.
was kind of like everyone was in on the joke sort of thing.
That could very well be the case. That would make sense. Now, you bring up the hair, and it leads into the person that I thought of. The only person I thought of in all of this was when they're doing the actual movie, when Ryder is back in the mix and he's
Mhm.
doing the cowboy, and he does his cowboy accent. At first, I'm like,
Mm.
you kind of sound like Matthew McConaughey. And then
Oh, interesting.
and
Yeah,
then
okay.
he kind of sounded like him, and then he
Mhm.
started to really sound like him. Like it was like maybe you could be that could be just who you wanted to use for inspiration for your cowboy voice. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. I could
But
see that.
it was just then. But when you bring up the hair, it
Mhm,
makes me think
mhm.
a little bit like that. That's kind of the style that McConaughey has.
That's true. I could see that. I think it's all, maybe it's open to interpretation there, but I could see that happening.
I don't know how many stunts that he's had to do in his career. The more I think about it, but at the same time, maybe the persona.
Well, he did some rom-coms with Kate Hudson, what was it, Fools Rush In or like Airplane or some Fool's Gold.
Okay,
Yeah, he's done some like action stuff like that. Not as much anymore.
okay, yeah, right. But so maybe that's it. Maybe, but I'm just maybe, or maybe they just took like maybe he's not like that with the stunt stuff, but he's
Mhm.
like that about other stuff, and that's where they translated it.
Okay. I
I don't
think
know.
Sahara was the movie with the airplane that I was, but anyway, yeah.
Sahara, yeah. But the more now, the more we're talking about it, the more I'm like,
I could see it.
eh,
That's definitely on the table. I'm not removing it from the options there.
we should, honestly, I'm curious if there's like an article like who was Tom Ryder based off of?
I'm sure we give it another week. I'm sure Screen Rant will come up with something on that,
That's very true. If they're not listening right now and working on something.
Jules said who lost the movie was the giant stuntman fight at the end. She thought that was actually, in her words, quote, a little gratuitous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how
Yeah.
you really feel.
Yeah, that's right. That's a 10-point word right there.
Mhm.
Who won the movie?
Gosling,
Hmm.
100%. I will say you bring up Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like the more like obviously he's done
I like him.
plenty.
I think he's good.
Yeah, he's like I don't look at him and think like he's going to be in this like I wouldn't expect to see him in Oppenheimer. I don't know if he was because everybody was in Oppenheimer,
That's
but
true. Yeah.
I I feel like any of these like blockbuster like fun type movies because obviously we've seen him be kick ass. We saw him play Quicksilver, obviously the one that didn't last.
Bullet Train as well. This is the same
Bullet Train.
director.
Yep, and there's other stuff obviously that I'm not mentioning, but he's of course Craven we're all very excited about.
Hmm.
But I feel like he can and in those movies he can kind of take on any role and like execute it perfectly.
Yeah, no, I like him. I think he's a great actor. I don't know. Is he British? Is
Yes,
he also British?
but
Right.
he was rumored. I don't know if he is or if it was a rumor because so many people talk about the James Bond stuff, but he was.
Oh, yeah. If that's the case, he can, because he had a British accent in Bullet Train, and I didn't know if that was an accent or if that's the real thing. But if it's the real thing, I would love to see him as James Bond. I think that could be pretty good.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, I think it's like I'm seeing headlines for it, but I haven't
Mhm.
seen. I'm not seeing anything where it's like yes, that's him
But
for sure.
I agree with Gosling. I mean, he's on a high run right now. He went from like pretty boy that you almost hate from the Notebook days. All the girls love him. You kind of like roll your eyes, but then he's kind of taken this turn, like almost in like Justin Timberlake fashion, where he's cool. So like everybody loves him.
Mm.
Like his approval ratings through the roof right now.
It's an interesting comp. Yeah, that's because that's right. Because I remember that's actually a really
Once he brought sexy back, he became cool. Timberlake, that is.
that is well put. And then he had was he Friends with Benefits or No Strings Attached?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's like the same movie. That's Deep Impact, Armageddon,
Friends with Benefits.
Volcano, and Dante's Peak. Which one was it?
Friends with Benefits was
Friends
him.
with Benefits. Yeah, the other one is with
Kutcher,
Ashton Kutcher, and
Ashton Kutcher, Natalie Portman, and then Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
yes, wow, that's a quad box of sexiness right there.
Yes, quite the quartet.
Quartet. There we go. That's better use. I was going to say maybe you should just said a square.
We just have to up our vocabulary because of your wife. So
Gratuitous. Yeah, we're falling behind. I'm like
we're missing
saying
our
things like
listeners.
quad box. Like it's YouTube TV. With the playoffs right
quads,
now. Yeah.
hamstrings,
Yeah, exactly.
bias, tries.
Muscle milk.
Hold on.
Couples, I think couples were the big winner from this year. Like I said, I thought this was a nice date night movie where the guy can be appeased by the action and the comedy. The girl can appreciate the comedy and the love story. It's a little bit of everyone there. High approval. You got a lot of sexiness on screen between Blunt and Gosling, but not like, to use that term, gratuitous sexiness. They're just like naturally good looking people. They don't have to have like, I don't know, a moose knuckle or like a push-up bra or something like that, to take your attention away. But they're just good-looking people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And stunt people. Stunt people are the big winner. They need some love. Let's we're the official Adam Dunn podcast right now, appreciation podcast. We should also kind of put that on our things to do this year, is to help petition stunt people to get an Oscar.
Yeah.
At least a Golden Globe.
That's more important than the Dunn stuff. I know it's probably blasphemous for me to say right now after what I said earlier, but it's insane that they don't get an award for that. But yeah, that's also where it's like the scene at the end of the movie. It's like, I'm glad they had that at least. You know what I mean? Some of them they probably haven't maybe they haven't appeared on screen like with their face, being there. So it's I'm glad that they got that.
What's Colt Seaver's, like, what do people perceive him as in this universe? Because Ryan Gosling's a leading man, and presumably if you're, have Ryan Gosling's face and body and features, and you're also Colt Seavers who can do all your own stunts, why aren't you an actor?
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
And
what do people not see in him that we see in the real world? I guess that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, what, Wes? That's a great point. It's kind of like the whole Anne Hathaway thing with Princess Diaries, right? Like, she was, as far as I knew, she was no name before that movie. So if you could, like, hide that, and obviously it was before social media, so it was easier to do that. But it's just like, you go and pretty her up, and it's like, oh wait a minute, she's like one of the prettiest women on the planet. Like, what do you mean?
She does things to me. There is a video going around with her like jokingly chastising an interviewer during her junket. She's like, "You naughty boy, you just asked me that? How dare you?" But in like a very playful way. And Nick, it is like maybe one of the sexiest things I've ever seen. She's not like, wearing anything sexy. She's just in like normal clothes in a junket with the movie Step and Repeat on in the background there. And it's like, she might be like the most effortlessly beautiful like celebrity that I've seen.
I think we're in lockstep. That is the best way to put it. And it's funny,
like she's not like there's a difference between like sexy, like Anna de Armas or like Dua Lipa. They're like sexy and hot, but she's like gorgeous.
Yeah, 100%. But I like, honestly, like, I've talked about it with my wife. Like, she told me that she, like, Anne Hathaway was like, I know celebrities all get like shit for stuff over the years, but like, she got a lot of stuff, and I don't like, that's one where I don't get it. Like, she seemed like,
what, for like her looks?
I don't think it was her looks. I genuinely, I felt like I don't know what it was. I feel like it was her acting, maybe, or I kind of think it was like the Nickelback kind of treatment, like that sort of thing. Like, it's cool to not like Anne Hathaway now.
Sure, yes,
and it's just like, why though? Yeah, I wasn't ever on the Nickelback train, but I can understand how people got there.
As a baseball guy, that's kind of right up your alley too. I'm sure you've heard a lot of Nickelback playing at a ballpark or two.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was like at the right age too when they had like their big.
No, I like them. I sing all their songs there. But admittedly, I hopped on the bandwagon there. The Creed, the Nickelback hate, butt rock. I think it was affectionately referred to as.
I can see it with both of them, like both Creed and them. And again, I know we're like jumping from like musicians to an actress here, but I don't understand how you do that with Anne Hathaway. Is it because she's effortlessly beautiful and because she's a good actress? Is that what it is? Like, you can't.
Yeah, people just probably hate her. She's. It's like the Tom Brady thing. People love to hate on Tom Brady because he just won and became unrelatable, and then that was their way of making them more relatable.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, I don't get it though. She she does things.
Yeah, a very beautiful woman. Like,
I'm glad we got that off my chest there. That's good. I'm probably going to get like we said, thin walls in this house here, and I talk so loud. I'm probably going to get a talking to. I know. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
It was.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what it was. I saw like.
Oh yeah. That's I mean, I got that bookmarked on Twitter. Um, but anyway, she's got nothing to do with this movie here. And the movie is The Fall Guy in theaters now. So go see it. Nick gave it a 90. I gave it an 86. That's an 88 aggregate score. Our wives gave it an 87 and an 89, respectively. That's an aggregate score of 88.
It was an 88 and an 89, so 89 and a half. 88 and a half.
Oh, 89 and a half. There we go. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So slightly higher on it collectively than us, but we are in the same ballpark.
Absolutely. This might be my third favorite movie of the year that we've reviewed so far. Probably in order for me: Dune Part 2, Civil War, and this.
I think I'm Civil War, Dune Part 2 in this.
Okay. Yeah, so we got the same top three there. You know, shake it up any way you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's shift over to the Discharge Depot. A hard transition.
Choo-choo, bitches.
Talk to me about this Taco Tour 2024.
Apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently on their site, it's the world's largest taco tour. Although I've never heard of a taco. I've never heard of a taco tour prior to this. So Lauren found this on Instagram, and it happens in Manchester, New Hampshire. I think they did it.
Interesting choice for that.
Yeah, they did it pre-COVID and then stopped for a bit, and then it came back, I think, in 2022. But they have Elm Street, which is like this. I've been to Manchester, but not like a whole hell of a lot. But they have the Elm Street, which seems to be like their main street because we walked down it. They shut it down from like a traffic standpoint, and they put like taco trucks out there, food trucks out there. They have restaurants that are there that like have their own taco stands that they set up kind of impromptu, and you just walk around and it's $3 a taco, and you have like the whole road. There's some kind of offshoots too, dude. It was like Lauren saw it. It's like, I want to do this, and I was like, this. It was great.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Blast. It was. We each had 8 different types of tacos. I think with like one exception, we had like the same kind at each place. There was like a chorizo. I can't remember what the Spanish one was because there's something else besides chorizo in it. But there was also a sushi one, which was interesting.
Oh, okay.
There was a scallop one, Wes, was probably my favorite one. It was really
like a blackened scallop.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It was really, really good.
Nice.
Chicken. There was pork. There was a chicken parm one, which was really interesting. Yes. Yeah.
I like this. This is good. So this is a tour. So it makes stops throughout the country or the world.
No, I think it's just a Manchester thing.
Is it?
It's called Taco Tour Manchester 2024. I'm not certain, but
I was going to say, like, I would never think the world's largest taco tour takes place in Manchester. Yeah, I would think that might be somewhere along the Mexican border in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, something like that. But that's amazing.
Yeah, it has its own site.
Delicious.
tacotourmanchester.com. So like, I don't know if I'm sure there are other ones, but yeah, dude, it was so much fun, and it's like pretty reasonably priced. I mean, everything's $3. I mean, I will say, like, you're not getting these like massive tacos.
Some samplings, kind of, right?
The first place we stopped at was actually the Fisher Cat Stadium, the AA affiliate for the Blue Jays. That was probably the biggest taco that we got. Outside of that, they were like, it was $3. Like, if I got this at another restaurant, it'd be like, okay, like, I probably wouldn't order this just because it's so tiny.
Yeah,
but
for $3.
For $3 for a fun night, just walking around, the strip. And honestly, the biggest thing that we took out of it was we need to visit Manchester a little bit more because Elm Street has so much cool shit there.
How far of a drive is that for you?
20 minutes. It was.
Yeah.
It was 40 that day because of traffic, as one might expect. But
the taco tour was in town. Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course. Yeah.
Tends to happen. Yeah.
That sounds delicious, though. It's like a nice little like fun size version. You got the Halloween candy size.
I was like very happy with it. Like, again, like, I'm being nitpicky on the price point, but it's like, it was the taste. Like, there might have been one that I didn't. There was one that I didn't care for a whole heck of a lot. I think it was like it was a chicken one, but it was very. It wasn't the chicken parm one. It wasn't like the early chicken one. It was like the third one I had or something like that. So,
Okay.
I
It's
guess
all
too much.
blended together at that point. 7 out of 8, though. That's you're having a great day from the field if you're doing that.
That is a very good point. Now, I'm not the only one that had some different food though this weekend though.
No, well, yeah. So I played golf on Friday. Very cold round. I was down
Oh,
4 strokes with 3 holes to play, and picked up 5 strokes there to beat my buddy who I usually play with there. So I
wow,
appreciate that.
nice.
Not too bad there. Putting game's absolute dog shit though. I got to do something about that. Putting too many 3 putts, but
First time out.
second time out. Yeah, but
Really?
this was the first full 18. So
Okay. Yeah.
there you
So there you
go.
go. Yeah.
Greek Easter. Now, this is something I'm, fairly new to being introduced to. Have you heard of Greek Easter before?
No,
I
I
mean,
didn't.
it's just when the Greeks celebrate Easter. So
Gotcha.
they're on a different calendar, or at least the Greek Orthodox Church runs on
Mm.
like the Gregorian calendar. So this is still in their minds, 3 days after Christ was killed and raised from the dead. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
it's not. I was like very confused. I had to Google it, but my father-in-law's girlfriend, brother-in-law, I think that's the connection there. His name's Lambros. He's 70 years old. He throws this big party for Greek Easter every year. He's a very like outspoken, like rambunctious guy. You wouldn't think that he's 70. He's got so much like vril in him.
Oh,
Just reminds me, I used to work with a bunch of Greek people in New York at a Greek cafe. Great, like awesome people to be around, very fun loving, good conversationalists. So they're like fun to be around. But this was a fun time. Just a bunch of Italians and Greeks getting together, in a backyard doing tequila shots. So it was a good time.
did you guys have
Lamb.
debates over
Zeus
Zeus and Jupiter and
Well, yeah.
whatnot?
So this guy, he's funny because he spent some time in like Kazakhstan, so he knows some like Russian traditions and stuff. So he comes out dressed like a Russian Orthodox priest and then
Oh,
a Greek Orthodox priest, and he's like, "We're doing 3 masses here today," and he's like speaking broken English all throughout this. He's like,
oh,
"We're
wow.
doing a Greek mass, we're doing and he's just really it's it's pretty blasphemous what he was doing, but he was it was a whole bit and everything. He had a Bible in there that had a bottle of booze that was carved out,
Oh,
it's
wow.
like a spot. There's all these different like bits into it, but very funny guy, very hospitable, and it's just like good people to be around.
Nice.
So
Sounds
we
like a
got a
fun
little
time.
banged up on Sunday there. That's why I was watching the Brady roast solo.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Did you guys have lamb?
Yeah, so I had some lamb, had some chicken that they were cooking on the grill as well, like chicken skewers, which again takes me right back to a food truck that was right in Astoria, New York, that I would go to all the time, whether I was poor or drunk or both. You would get 3 chicken sticks, a little bit of hot sauce, and then a couple pieces of bread, and it was like $10. And it was the perfect protein, like no like frills or anything. Just give me that, and then I don't know what they use for spices or the type of chicken that they use, but the texture and the taste took me right back to Astoria.
Nice.
It's
That's
good
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, I have like this ever since my buddy, one of my groomsmen from my buddy from high school that was in my wedding, ever since he got married, which was a few months before my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
He married a Greek girl, and like the whole wedding, all that food was Greek food. Like ever since that, and then on top of that, going to the islands afterwards and everything. It's
Sure.
like
Oh yeah.
I just have this new affinity for like Greek food. Whenever like I'm just like we have a
Feta
Euro place.
cheese is the best. I love feta cheese. I'll put that on anything.
Yeah, and hard cheese, like where dairy doesn't always agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's a harder cheese, so like that sits better. So, yeah,
Ah.
all that kind like but like we have a Euro place down the road. That's I love going there. So
Oh, gyro.
sure, however you
Yeah.
want to put
Yeah.
tomato,
It's funny
tomato.
how different the sounds are, right? It's just like you go to your normal house of pizza place, and it's like, yeah, give me a gyro.
Yeah, when I went there, I was like, well, one, I know it's not pronounced gyro. Like
Yeah.
obviously, we know that's not how they say it over there. And I'm not expecting to say everything perfect, but at the same time, I feel like if I said gyro in Greece, they'd be like, "What?"
Yeah,
So
you just like swore at them. I think it's hero, but with a Y.
it's gyro.
There we go.
That's how I was
You're
instructed.
there, yeah.
But I was like, I needed to ask because I'm like, you have the euro currency, and then you call this a
Right.
euro.
Yeah.
So like, what like what the fuck is it?
Yeah, that's interesting. They weren't always on the euro currency. That's kind of recently. Their whole financial system collapsed.
Oh, was it very recent? I didn't realize.
Not like 10 years recently, maybe when I was like 10 years. I was still in New York, 2013, 14.
They're always changing shit over there.
Well, the problem is, they spend so much time pontificating, they forget to work,
That's supposedly the thing, right?
Yeah, that's it. No, that is the thing. I've spent, like I said, enough time in the Greek cafes to know that these Greek guys and like a lot of Eastern Europeans just sit around and do nothing all day. They'll just drink their Greek coffees, smoke a pack of cigarettes, drink more coffee, go across the street, buy another pack of cigarettes, and they just hang. It's the life. They live the dream.
Well, that's.
But then you get on the euro, so
yeah, you get on the euro. Yeah,
that's what happens, I guess.
They got great food, man.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah, and they got good mythology. All that stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
I love
culture is amazing.
That was seeing the Temple of Apollo like that. The people are so nice. But people that I encountered in the two spots I went to were really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But anyways, we don't need to go down that whole road again.
No, great people, great time. For next week's episode, I think we have a bit of a free play. So we have, I know Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or whatever that movie's titled is coming out this weekend. But we also have, we overlooked this. It was the Scargiver, Rebel Moon.
Oh, is that out?
The part 2, yeah. So that came out a couple of years ago, but it's Mother's Day next weekend, so I got a bit of a full plate on my
hands. Yes, you have a very full plate on your hands. Because when you said movie, I was like, wait a minute, something seems off. But yeah, let's do that, and then we could always run it back with what's the other movie that you were mentioning?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah,
we could always try that the week after, maybe.
Yeah, and then also come up, we'll have the X-Men 97 exit survey. That's going to be closing out soon. So we got some good things in the pipeline. Bear with us through Rebel Moon because we're going to have some good stuff on the other side.
I think the people are going to want to hear about the Rebel Moon, especially if we're ripping it. But
that's a good point because this one hasn't. I know the first part got shit on, but not nearly to the degree that the second part has.
Oh, it's been worse.
At least from what I've seen. Yeah,
I forget what our grades were, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Absolutely, but it'll always be at the same bad time, same bad place.